Welcome back, one and all, to the second half of my interview with Flat Earth Dave, and the third overall part in a series that I've titled, Where Are We? And I hope that you are asking this question more and more as you're watching these episodes, because I know that I certainly have as I was building them for you. There's so many questions out there that we just aren't ever exposed to in our lives. We are given this very specific message about all of these things around the planet, the solar system, the world we live in, and we just don't ask any questions because we're taught so young. And forever after, we're told that anyone that questions this is a crazy person. So I'll let you be the judge of this. This is the whole reason of putting this series together, which is turned out to be the most ambitious series I've ever done. It's going to be over 10 hours of content by the end of this, so I really hope you've enjoyed it. Really hope you feel like sharing this around with friends and family you care about, because I really just don't think there's a more important question out there than where are we? What is this world we live in? Question everything, as you guys know. So hope you really enjoy this episode. You know the drill. Watch on video, tons of visual content, and watch till the very end, because we've got some bonus content for you guys on this one at the very end that I think might make you cry. So that's the goal. We're always trying to pull the heartstrings here, make you think all things, feel all the things. Enjoy, my friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Exactly. It's so many questions people should be asking. And I think this is a good time. We planted so many good questions here. We haven't really given a full walkthrough on, okay, Ben and Dave, what is the actual model you believe that the Earth is? Because we talked about how the flying pancake through space is a made up one that they use to make us look stupid. Could you show us a working model? You showed us the clock behind you, but I know there's some other graphics out there of what we actually believe the Earth looks like.
No one is 100% certain about what the flat Earth looks like, but the azimuthal equidistant projection map that is used by the USGS is the flat Earth map. The United Nations, oddly enough, uses the flat Earth map as its logo and divides it into 33 Masonic sections. The Gleason's map is also used as a representation of the flat Earth. On the flat Earth map, North is in the center, while South, or Antarctica, is surrounding Earth with the continents and oceans inside. Mercator's map from 1569 is also a flat Earth map showing a magnetic mountain in the north with 4 continents surrounding it. The ancients had their own depictions of a flat Earth. Who's to say there is an edge? Most people's first reaction to flat Earth is that there must be an edge, but is that because of how it is presented to us? On the current flat Earth model, there is no edge, but rather a 360-degree wall of ice surrounding Earth, holding the oceans in. Again, no one is 100% certain that this ice wall exists, because for more than 50 years, there has existed an international Antarctic treaty stating that no civilian can travel there without government approval. There are pre-approved guide tours that exist, but they only go to coastal regions. Jarl Andhoy was arrested and fined when he traveled to Antarctica without permission. We do have many pictures of the ice wall, but due to the treaty, we are restricted from going down there. On the flat Earth model, the sun circles over the Earth in a clockwise manner and fades off into the vanishing point of perspective, or the horizon. The sun does not actually sink to the ground, but rather it gets further and further away until the observer can no longer see it. The sun is not 93 million miles away, as modern astronomers claim, but it is obviously closer and smaller. The sun only gives light to about half of the plane, while the other half is night. Although there has been much debate about this in the community, I think we can all agree that it is the sun circling above us, not the other way around. This question is not possible to be answered because no human being knows what is underneath the Earth. The farthest any human being has ever dug is 8 miles, so not even heliocentrists know what's inside the Earth. When people think of a flat Earth, they think of a disk in outer space, but the whole concept of outer space is ludicrous with the baller theory. Many ancient cultures across the plane support the notion of Earth being held upon pillars, but the fact of the matter is, no one can ever know for sure what is beneath the Earth. No, on the flat Earth model, the Earth is stationary and is motionless. Earth is sitting still beneath our feet, and it is actually the celestial bodies, such as the sun, moon, and stars, that revolve around us. No one has ever, can ever, and will never experience motion from the Earth, which is astonishing because mainstream science says that the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour while hurtling 67,000 miles per hour around the sun, with the solar system shooting 500,000 miles per hour through the Milky Way, while traveling 670 million miles an hour through space. Yet we can feel none of this? Yes and no. It is obvious that there are lights in the sky revolving above our heads called stars, but the mainstream version of what we believe about outer space is simply not true. The only reason we believe things about outer space is thanks to Hollywood, school science books, and government space agencies. No one knows for sure what those lights in the sky are, but all we do know is that they appear to be moving around us and that we are in the center. The sun and moon appear to be the same size because they are the same size. Mainstream science wants you to believe that the reason the sun and moon look like the same size is because the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times farther away. They say that this is just a coincidence, but that is their way of trying to explain why they appear to be similar sizes. It is fairly obvious that the sun and moon are both circling overhead and are both equally balanced opposites and are the same size. flat Earth, north would be at the center of the Earth, and south would be anywhere extending away from north. A compass will always point north, no matter where you are on Earth. The North Pole would be just how the ancient cultures knew it, magnetic north. The ancients called it magnetic north because they believed that towards the center of the flat plane, it acted like a magnet. This is why no matter where on our flat Earth, when you hold a compass, it will always point to north, which appears to act like a magnet, drawing you to that direction. If anything, north and south seems to make more sense on the flat Earth than the ball Earth.
In the flat Earth model, the Sun and Moon luminaries revolve around the Earth once every 24 hours for the Sun, and approximately 25 hours for the Moon, illuminating like spotlights the areas over which they pass. The Sun's annual journey from tropic to tropic, solstice to solstice, is what determines the length and character of days, nights, and seasons. This is why equatorial regions experience almost year-round summer and heat, while higher latitudes north and especially south experience more distinct seasons with harsh winters. The heliocentric model claims seasons change based on the ball Earth's alleged axial tilt and elliptical orbit around the Sun. Their flawed current model even places us closest to the Sun, 91,400,000 miles, in January, when it is actually winter, and farthest from the Sun, 94,500,000 miles, in July, when it's actually summer throughout much of the Earth. They say due to the ball Earth's tilt, different places receive different amounts of direct sunlight, and that is what produces the seasonal and temperature changes. This makes little sense, however, because if the Sun's heat travels over 90 million miles to reach the ball Earth, how could a slight tilt, a mere few thousand miles maximum, negate the Sun's 90 million mile journey, giving us simultaneous tropical summers and Antarctic winters? Thomas Winship said, "The Earth is a stretched out structure which diverges from the central north in all directions towards the south. The equator, being midway between the north center and the southern circumference, divides the course of the Sun into north and south declination. The longest circle around the world which the Sun makes is when it has reached its greatest southern declination. Gradually going northwards, the circle is contracted. In about 3 months after the southern extremity of its path has been reached, the Sun makes a circle around the equator. Still pursuing a northerly course as it goes round and above the world, in another 3 months the greatest northern declination is reached, when the Sun again begins to go towards the south. In north latitudes, when the Sun is going north, it rises earlier each day, is higher at noon, and sets later, while in southern latitudes at the same time, the Sun as a matter of course rises later, reaches a lesser altitude at noon, and sets earlier. In northern latitudes, during the southern summer, say from September to December, the Sun rises later each day, is lower at noon, and sets earlier, while in the south he rises earlier, reaches a higher altitude at noon, and sets later each day. This movement round the Earth daily is the cause of the alternations of day and night, while his northerly and southerly courses produce the seasons. When the sun is south of the equator, it is summer in the south and winter in the north, and vice versa. The fact of the alternation of the seasons flatly contradicts the Newtonian delusion that the Earth revolves in an orbit around the sun. It is said that summer is caused by the Earth being nearest the sun, and winter by its being farthest from the sun. But if the reader will follow the argument in any textbook, he will see that according to the theory, when the Earth is nearest the sun, there must be summer in both northern and southern latitudes, and in like manner, when it is farthest from the sun, it must be winter all over the Earth at the same time, because the whole of the globe Earth would then be farthest from the sun. In short, it is impossible to account for the recurrence of seasons on the assumption that the Earth is globular and that it revolves in an orbit around the sun. Gabrielle Henriette said, "The essential feature of the year is its division into 2 equal periods of 6 months, based first on the predominating length of the days over that of the nights, and vice versa, conditions which are governed by the varying hours of sunrise and sunset, and secondly, by the either high or low height reached by the sun in the heavens at midday. The first cycle, during which the days are longer than the nights, and the sun reaches its culminating point of the year, extends from the spring equinox to the autumn equinox, i.e. March 21st to September 22nd, and the second cycle, during which, inversely, the duration of the nights exceeds that of the days, and the sun descends to its lowest point of the year, extends from the autumn equinox to the spring equinox, i.e. September 23rd to March 20th. These 2 6-month periods are also characterized by an opposition of temperature. During the first cycle, which corresponds to spring and summer, the heat gradually rises and falls, while during the second cycle, which comprises autumn and winter, it is the intensity of the cold which progressively increases and decreases."
Earth is a level, motionless plane with the sun, moon, and stars revolving over and around us just as you experience every day. The North Pole is the magnetic monopole center point, with Polaris, the North Pole star, situated directly above. Polaris is the only motionless star in the heavens, with all the other constellations revolving perfect circles over the Earth every night. The so-called planets, known to the ancients as wandering stars, were named such because they were observed then, as we can observe today, to wander the heavens, taking their own unique spirograph-like patterns, making both forward and retrograde motions over and around the Earth during their cycles. Meanwhile, the fixed stars were named such because they were observed then, as we can observe today, to stay fixed in their constellation patterns night after night, year after year, century after century, never changing their relative positions. If Earth was truly a tilting, wobbling, spinning space ball, as NASA and modern astronomy proclaim, rotating 1,000 miles per hour on its axis, revolving 67,000 miles per hour around the sun, spiraling 500,000 miles per hour around the galaxy, and shooting off several million more miles per hour through the universe, the star patterns would never look the same 2 nights in a row, let alone be fixed in exactly the same constellations for thousands upon thousands of years. The reality is that the Earth and Polaris do not move, while everything else in the heavens revolves over Earth and around Polaris, east to west, like in a planetarium dome. Our Earth planetarium, however, is so vast that perspective won't allow any observer to see all the stars simultaneously from any one vantage point. We can see Polaris, Ursa Major and Minor, and other northern constellations from every point north of the equator simultaneously, but conversely cannot see the so-called South Pole star, Sigma Octantis, the Southern Cross, or other outer constellations simultaneously from every point south of the equator, because they all sweep over a great southern arc from their rise in the evening
to their setting in the morning. Facing north, the stars turn counterclockwise from right to left. Facing south, they turn clockwise from left to right. Facing east, they rise in front and set behind, while facing west, they rise behind and set in front. So their apparent motion, angle, and inclination changes depending where you are on Earth and what direction you are facing. But their actual movement is always east to west.
Why do you believe the Earth is a ball? Well, I've been shown cartoons my whole life about it. You know, they tell me stuff and they show me cartoons. They show me CGI nonsense. NASA is just complete and total nonsense. It's mind control to make you think that you live here when in fact you live here. Well, why the lie? Why would they lie? And the lie is they're hiding more resources. They're hiding more land. They're hiding who you truly are. They're hiding the power of your mind, how you can manifest things in this crazy, insane, amazing world that we live in. They don't want you to know that you have power. The only power the elite have over you is in your imagination. Imagine if everybody woke up tomorrow or tonight and said, screw it, we're not listening to them anymore. We're going to do our own thing. Well, they'd be done. They'd be finished. They'd have zero power. The only power they have is in your imagination. when we see things like this in nature, we can recreate them with a dome top. So I believe there is some sort of dome above us. I don't know where it extends to. Maybe it's 1,000,000 miles past 60 degrees south, or maybe it's just, a couple hundred miles inside of the shoreline of Antarctica where the mountains are. They say that these mountains are huge, bigger, the biggest mountains in the world there. Maybe that's the bottom of the dome. I don't know.
Now, if you just watch the trajectory of every single rocket, you'll quickly realize that it always follows an arch. Now, is it following the curvature of the Earth and its atmosphere? Or is it avoiding something above? I would guess that it would be avoiding something above, because multiple people all over our globe have spotted rockets scraping upon the firmament. And it almost looks like it is literally scraping a liquid substance. As above, so below. A GoPro video literally shows a rocket hitting the firmament probably 72 miles above the surface of Earth. Now, isn't that just crazy? They hide the truth in plain sight, and they make us think that we're just fools if we say that the Earth is flat. But if there's no perceivable curvature, wouldn't it technically be called flat? What you see up top is a rocket scraping upon the firmament. And what you see right here is some people jet skiing in Miami. That's really interesting. It's almost identical. And have you noticed that all rockets follow an arched trajectory? They never just shoot straight up into the atmosphere and go out into outer space, but they all follow an arch. Why is that? Are they following the curvature of the Earth? Or are they avoiding something in the upper atmosphere? Perhaps the crystalline firmament. And I think Disney knows a lot about the firmament. Wow. But really, think about it. No rocket that we have ever seen in outer space has not been CGI. Every single rocket that we see in outer space on all of these videos on YouTube or from NASA are all CGI. Why? Perhaps because we've never left Earth's atmosphere. Perhaps because the Earth is the universe, like all ancient cultures spoke of. China recently released footage of the Tianzhao 9 scraping upon the firmament. Now, that statement that I just made, you probably think that I'm a little bit crazy. But just look at the comparison. The top video is literally a boat driving around on the water, and the ripple effects that it's creating is looking just like what the Tianzhao 9 is creating while it's flying around in the heavens above. Yeah, so Tianzhao quite literally translates to heavenly ship, and 9 is associated with the polarity in a torus field. Nikola Tesla's 369. It's really complex stuff. I honestly don't fully understand it, but 9 is the polarity, which would be Polaris in the torus field that we live on, called Earth. Yeah, so the rocket is scraping on the firmament, and they're quite literally telling us with the name of the ship itself. And if you don't believe me, literally look at the trajectory of the rocket. It's following an arched trajectory. And why do they call the cold zones of the thing that we live on the Arctic? Dome, firmament. I asked ChatGPT why it looks like rockets are scraping the firmament, and this is what it said. The space jellyfish, the spiral's domes of light, are ionization in the high voltage dielectric barrier. Some insiders and leaked footage suggest rockets can't penetrate past a certain altitude. They burst, veer, or explode near or at this energetic shell. It's not glass, it's not metal, it's something far more advanced. A frequency-sealed boundary that separates this contained energetic system with what lies beyond. The waters above are a superfluid ether/primordial plasma. So it's not H2O like we know it, it's hyperdimensional conscious liquid energy. So it's essentially water in plasma form. It's highly energized and it's moving in between the physical and the metaphysical. Because when you're dreaming, you're in the astral realm. Well, how does that manifest into the physical? Well, it does it through the stars, through the primordial plasma that this is talking about. Yeah, so are we making this up? I don't think so. I think NASA are the people making things up.
All right, it's reaching altitude, hits the dome, and curves, and starts falling down.
Rockets don't have brakes. It literally stopped. All of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to have hit something. What would it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed. Most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case.
altitude 32 kilometers, speed 1 kilometer per second, downrange distance 13 kilometers.
Data coming back shows vehicle on course, on track.
Traveling, a social battle with rap, what they who pull the string. Philosophers, politicians, over school teachers, give a life and death, ever sitting on the bridges. What happened to our voice? What happened to our influence? Tell me who will listen to uneducated congregants. And why should they, when all we ever say is bubbles taking doctrine, cute catchphrases. This is amazing, that the world will take it seriously. We talk big, but then we're sitting at the feet. I believe there's a comedy about hypocrisy, unaware of true biblical philosophy. So we gotta work what we do with the G, cause we represent Christ plus Christianity. The underground sound, hit to take your mind higher. I pound the ground, burn it down like fire. Still on the first half, you escape reason, we escape wrath. The underground sound, hit to take your mind higher. I pound the ground, burn it down like fire. Still on the first half, you escape reason, we escape wrath. More kind of knocking some dollar for my opinion. Gunner of the whole human race wouldn't disagree with him. Truth is what I spit. Whether we're hearing it or you were having it, but it don't matter which. He's gotta sell himself. He can strike a stand even in the big of help. You don't think that's to say that? You say you don't believe that our opinion counts to zero? That is simply that. Come on, yeah. Like I'm old Joe, that's how it goes. That's just the way of things. God is not impressed, disagreeing, won't change anything. We don't respect for mercy. Surely gotta show it. There's a reason for our hope. You ask me how I know it. God said it, and that without a doubt. He who comes to me, I will know and cast out. The underground sound, here to take your mind higher. I pound the ground, burn it down like fire. Still on the first half, you escape reason, we escape wrath. The underground sound, here to take your mind higher. I pound the ground, burn it down like fire. Still on the first half, you escape reason, we escape wrath. A city of the siege, what will you believe? Champions of truth or of apostasy. You wanna take on me? You take on Elohim. He controls all the bosses and what will be. A city of the siege, what will you believe? Champions of truth or of apostasy. You wanna take on me? You take on Elohim. He controls all the bosses and what will be. Sound hit to take your mind higher. I pound the ground, burn it down like fire. Still on the first half, you escape reason, we escape wrath. The underground sound hit to take your mind higher. I pound the ground, burn it down like fire. Still on the first half, you escape reason, we escape wrath.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Rockets don't have brakes. It literally stopped. All of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to hit something. What would it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed, and most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it.
Kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back, and the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
There's no place to go.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. And it may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
People figured out that we were an enclosed system. The more advanced we got, it would be the biggest thought on our minds. That's all we care about. You could make a wildlife reserve 1,000 miles square. All people, all human beings would do is just be knocking on the fence constantly, going, why is this fence here? Who built the fence? Why are we in here? And so on and so on.
What if I told you that lightning and thunder are proof that we live under the firmament? Because when I look up, all I see is a dome.
That sounds...
Interesting. So, didn't them popping that balloon under a dome sound exactly like when lightning strikes and you hear the aftermath? Exactly. So the air becomes so positively charged and energized with all the water and everything just moving around in the atmosphere in comparison to the ground that it creates this massive polarity. And since we live in a torus field where everything has to remain harmonious electromagnetically, there is a discharge to release that pressure and get rid of that polarity between the two fields.
Generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system.
Huh. The Earth is a closed system. That's right. We've never actually left Earth's atmosphere. That's why every single video and picture of any satellite in space or rocket ship or anyone actually in space outside of Earth's atmosphere, is CGI. Yeah, it's like they're telling us right to our faces with this giant projector dome thing in Las Vegas, but let's just forget about that.
Why would they lie? We didn't hit that, so let's hit that real quick.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Why would they lie? The first thing is, once you see what this place is, you can't deny the existence of a creator. So they're hiding God just to start with. And God was hidden from me for many reasons. And when I realized the earth was flat, I was like, oh my God, there's a God, right? There's no doubt, because we live in an enclosed system. Air needs a container. A container doesn't happen randomly. It was designed, therefore there's a creator, right? They're hiding free energy. They're hiding the creator. They're hiding your spirituality. They're hiding more land. They're hiding more resources. They're hiding scientific knowledge of what's in Antarctica, hiding the fact that we're at the center of creation and that we're special. That's just the beginning. They're hiding all sorts of things, more resources. They're hiding our true purpose. It is absolutely amazing.
So a lot of people have asked me, like, why does the shape of the Earth even matter? Well, if it really boils down to it, the shape doesn't really affect your daily life. However, if someone is deliberately lying to you, then they're trying to control you and control your mind. So if someone is pushing these false ideologies on you, they're trying to control your perception of reality. If they can control your perception of reality, they can control the way that you think, the way that you act, the things that you do. So essentially, you become a slave. So this is why the shape matters. It's not about suddenly my life is better because I live on a flat earth. No. It's about the fact that they're deliberately lying to you and trying to control you. If you want to be truly free, you have to free your mind first. The idea of non-renewable resources and that everything is so scarce and the population is just booming and we have to lower the population. All of these agendas designed to control humanity and totally enslave us in every single facet of our lives are all based off of a globe model. That's why if you go on NASA's page, all the satellites are showing how hot the Earth is becoming and the greenhouse gases, we're all going to catch on fire. You see what I'm saying? It's all based off of a globe model. All of these promises of us going to space and Elon taking us to Mars, it's literally all based off of a globe model. So if you destroy the globe model, you destroy the globalists. You destroy the entire foundation from which this enslavement system is built upon. And that's why flat Earth is so demonized.
What difference does the shape of the world make? Well, there is no difference. It does make a difference, the shape. It's the lie that matters. What difference does it make? I have to go to work on Monday. I said it. I said all the things, right? I worked my way up through corporate America. I started my own business, super successful. I had a great situation, making tons of money, American dream. I got the whole thing. And I walked away from it all because this is the most important topic of our time. This is the one that unplugs us from the matrix. This is the one that frees us from the tyranny that's going on. What difference does it make? Well, there's a thing where he who created it owns it. So we're born into God's world, into nature, into the natural world, and there's natural law, and we are inheritors of this realm equally. But the controllers have made it where they immediately register us to a corporation at birth, and they'll tell us we live on this spinning ball, and if you live on their ball field, you play with their rules, and that's how they control us. For example, if you look at all of the music industry, all of it, all of the movies industry, all of the video games, and I think you could add into that all of the professional sports teams, all of that together is less than space, what they spend on space yearly. Okay? Space is the biggest money laundering system in the world ever. And it's how they control us because it makes us insignificant. It hides us from the creator. There's a quote in the Bible, a verse that basically says, once you see my creation, you can no longer deny my existence. Well, they don't want you in that situation where you can't deny the creator because it's hard to control people that have a connection to God. So they're doing everything they can by demoralizing us and hiding us and diluting God. How do you dilute something? You put it into something bigger. Right? You pour it into something bigger like infinite expanding space. They tell us space is expanding. I think it's 1 billion miles a minute or something like that. It's the dumbest thing ever. It's ridiculous. They're just lying. So money, I don't think money is the reason that they do it. I think it's more to hide God. Your thoughts create your reality. If you're trapped in a globe of limitations, if you're afraid that they're going to start a nuclear war and don't realize that nuclear bombs don't exist as described, if you think that we're overpopulated, maybe you won't have more kids. It's all about population control. I believe that in the old world, if you start looking into that, there's tons of stuff on the app about it, that there was trillions of people here. Trillions. Okay, not billions, trillions. And there's so much evidence of that. It's unreal. But if you live in a small world, you have small thoughts, and it limits your imagination. It limits your creative ability. And if you live in fear, your ability to manifest is not nearly as strong. So, what difference does it make? If you lived, let's say you lived in a building. All right, let's say there's this cool building. They're building that line out in Saudi Arabia, whatever it's called. Well, imagine a building 500 miles long, by 500 miles wide, and it's 400 stories tall. Okay, cool. You're born in there. There's football stadiums in there. There's colleges in there. There's Costco's in there. There's trains in there. There might even be airplanes. 500 miles, that's pretty far, right? So this is a giant building. But every time you get within a mile of the outside wall, there's military there that goes, no, you can't go there. We have to protect the penguins. There's penguins that live out there, right? And there's ice. We don't want you infecting the ice. And you're like, okay. And then somebody goes, there's more out there. There's more. And you're like, what difference does it make? I'm fine right here in my little ball, right? They don't want you to know. What are all wars fought over? All of them. Resources and land. What if they're hiding more land and resources? They're hiding more land and resources. They're hiding the creator. They're hiding your true power. This is the most important topic. And also, if you're lost in space, spinning out of control, living in fear and in lack, they can make you believe that the boogeyman's floating through the air, and if you breathe on your friend, they're going to die, and it's going to be your fault. Right? They can make you believe in anything if you believe you're flying through space. If you don't have a foundation to God's creation, then you are lost in space, and you'll never live to your full potential. Now, you might be happy. You might have money. You might have a nice house. You might go on vacation here and there, right? Okay? But that's not what this is all about. This is all about government. What is government? Why does government think that they're in charge of us? We're in charge of them. God, man, government. Government's trying to get on top of God, right? They're already on top of us in your minds, not in my mind. I mean, not in regular people's minds. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but government is here for us, but they're not here for us. They're all corrupt. They're all, in it together, and they're literally satanic. It's crazy, the stuff that they're into. So, why the lie? They're hiding free energy. They're hiding your spirituality. They're hiding more land. They're hiding scientific knowledge. What's in Antarctica? That we're at the center of creation. They're hiding how special you are. So if you want to just ignore that and not see the full creation of this fantastic opportunity that we have to experience this realm, that's why, for me, it is the most important topic ever. People adamantly fight against flat earth, right? You want to piss off a baby? What do? You take his ball away, right? You want to piss off an adult, right? Whose whole world was built around this foundation? You take their ball away. So we are these incredible psychic third eye energy machines in this realm, and we're connected to everything, right? But how do you connect that? You bring somebody into a low vibration of fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real, FEAR. And you're afraid of asteroids. You're afraid of nuclear bombs, by the way, which are fake. You're afraid of running out of resources, overpopulation, all of the nonsense that comes with the globe. So they take you in school and they literally put a globe over your head and say, this is where you live. This is all there is. There's nothing else. It's like, go watch the Truman Show. There's nothing else, Truman. Stop thinking. We don't even know to look for something on the other side of Antarctica, because if we go across Antarctica, we just go over to the other side of the world. People don't even know that maybe there's more out there. Maybe there's more. So check out some of my interviews on Flat Earth Dave Interviews too. Again, just go to flatearthdave.com, subscribe to my channels there, and try to find the videos on Antarctica, on Kiribati. Did you ever see my presentation on Kiribati?
I don't think so. Yeah, I have a lot more homework to do. Clearly.
Yeah, I have so many experiments to show that the Earth is provably flat. Just on the app, if you go to the web button and you scroll down to experiments, these are all the greatest videos. Laser sightings, mirror flashes, all sorts of stuff, all documented perfectly for you, so you cannot deny it. It's absolutely amazing. But I do like speculating about more lands beyond 60 degrees south where we're not allowed to go, right? Where we're not allowed to independently explore. So there was we were looking at a ship tracking site. You know, you can track ships all over the world. And so we're looking at it, and look at all these ships, and you click on the ship and find out all information about it. But we saw a ship here. Like, how does the ship get there? There was actually several ships inside, 730 miles, right? If I zoom out a little bit, there's another ship here, which is 905 miles, right? That's almost in the center of Antarctica, right? How does a ship get there? How could a active, and it said it was a fishing vessel, and so how does a ship get there? That's an interesting question. So we clicked on the ship and we said, all right, what's the, and it had very little information. It didn't tell us the captain's name. It didn't tell us what it had on it. Didn't tell us where it was going. It's a destination unknown. And it said it was 850 meters long by 80 meters wide, which is absolutely gigantic, right? So wait a minute. So we looked, and all it says, it was registered to the nation of Kiribati. So out in the middle of the South Pacific, I had to put a pin on it. It's this little friggin' sandbar. We're like, it's registered to Kiribati. Now, it's pronounced Kiribati, but if you look, it's spelled Kiribati. Remember that, all right? It's spelled Kiribati. So we looked up information on Kiribati, and America just gave them $10 billion, or not that long ago, and China the same, $10 billion. They say it's a very important trade route. Wait a minute. Why does a giant ship have to stop at Kiribati, right? So we look at the other ships that were all hovering around there, getting ready to dock at their absolutely oversized pier. They all say destination unknown or destination Christmas Island. You know the whole thing about Christmas and Santa and child trafficking and Satan. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. Some people say they called Kiribati Christmas Island. I don't know. It's pretty weird. And another funny thing is, you know the story of Captain Cook? Captain Cook tried to circumnavigate Antarctica, which is 10,000 miles around. It took him 3.5 years. He went over 65,000 miles, which is more like going around the outside of the flat Earth, right? There's a Captain Cook bed and breakfast, hotel, motel, whatever, on Kiribati. I don't know. That's weird. Maybe someone's just obsessed. But so now we got a nation that has boats that are in the middle of Antarctica, which is impossible with a Captain Cook hotel. Just let the evidence stack up, okay? Let the nonsense stack up, right? Mentioned nukes are fake. If people don't realize that, go to my website, flatearthdave.com, scroll down, you'll see the nuclear bomb banner, listen to those podcasts, and then you'll know. If you don't, then you won't know. And so wherever you see things about nukes, just know that they don't want you to go there. You know, in south of the South Australia, there's a fence that goes for thousands of miles that's actively guarded. A fence for thousands of miles. No one's allowed to go there. And they used to say, well, they did nuclear testing there. They don't want you to go there. Okay, lies. Then they say it's for the dingoes, whatever. And they there's some articles on it. The one guy said, oh, when I was there, I put my hand over my eyes. When it happened, I could see the bones in my hands. I think he's watching too many Bugs Bunny cartoons, right? And it shows these people, is this a nuclear bomb or what is that? And do these people even care? Like if a nuclear bomb just exploded there, you'd be hitting the deck, turning the other way, running. But these guys are just walking around like it's nothing. I think that's just a fire or something or CGI. And they show this picture, which has been used a million times. So again, another red flag. So if we look at time zones on a ball are 24 lines from the North Pole to the South Pole, dividing the ball up into sections like an orange, right? And as the ball spins, wherever the sun is, that's noon. Those are time zones, right? Except there's this weird time zone at the International Date Line that has all these jagged turns on it, which make no sense on a ball. If we look at it, it goes across 3.5 time zones, and I'd call this the weirdest spot of all, right? Guess what's right there? Kirabate's there. I don't know what that means. That's just another weird thing. I'm building. All right. So, there's another thing. Did you know that there's 19 time zones in the north, 24 in between the tropics, and 32 in the south? That
This is an
doesn't work on a
interesting
ball.
one. I have heard about this one. Yeah.
That doesn't work on a ball.
Below the equator, we have extremely weird time zones. 30 minutes time zones, 45 minutes time zones. It's the way they found to hide the extensive amount of land below the equator. The globe makes no sense. You have 19 time zones on the top of the globe, followed by 24 time zones between 40th parallel and the equator, and then below the equator you have 32 time zones. As flat earthers already know, the northern part of the flat earth is much smaller in areas than the southern part, contrary to the heliocentric sphere, where the two hemispheres are supposedly identical. In order to go from the northern part of a flat earth to the northern part of a ball earth, it is necessary to create extra land, surface area, and enlarge that part of the world and stretch the countries proportionally to the extra surface area. This transformation is not discrete. You need major changes, something that is visibly illogical in order to achieve this. To start with, we will look at the time zones precisely. The time zones are divided into 24 hours around the Earth, as you can see here on this image. They should spread equally around the globe model from east to west in a longitudinal direction. Or more precisely, it should be divided into 24 identical time zones, following the position of the Sun in relation to the rotation of the Earth. At the same time, if you observe only the northernmost part, you will note that Alaska and Canada are stretched to the west, and little by little they overstep the time zones on their left. They offset further and further to the point where in Alaska, at the Bering Strait, it is 3 o'clock local time, whilst at the same time and in the same place it's also midnight in Russia, on exactly the same longitude. 3 hours are missing here, from 0 hour or midnight in Russia to 3 in the morning in Alaska. To the west of the Bering Strait, it is the same thing. We see that there are 2 hours of time zones missing, the 18-hour and the 20-hour ones. Therefore, in that northern part of the globe, there are only 19 time zones out of 24. By stretching Canada, Alaska and Russia over less time zones here and there, it creates space at the Bering Strait, as well as the great stretches of sea just under the Bering Strait. This creates the extra space needed by the manipulators for the transformation. If, on the contrary, we keep the same stretch for both continents but apply 24 time zones, we find ourselves with 3 time zones just over Alaska alone. And when following the latitudes from east to west, we would change time zones too quickly over too short a distance, which would not correspond to the distance of the sphere model and would raise concern. There are officially only 19 time zones in the very northernmost parts of the globe, and at least 32 in the south of the globe. We also note that the places where time zones are increased are either far out at sea, like the Pacific Islands, or have a coastline open to the south, like Iran, India, Burma, or Australia. And in these cases, it's impossible to know how the 32 time zones would be overlaid onto a sphere, since there are areas that are not habitated to the south of these territories. The 32 time zones disappear at sea. which is pretty convenient for the manipulators to hide the anomaly. We also see that USA and Australia have almost the same width on the globe, 4,000 kilometers for Australia and 4,500 kilometers for the USA. This works on the globe. They also have an equivalent latitudinal position, though the USA is a little farther north than Australia in the south. Their positions in latitude are similar enough to be able to compare the time zones for each country according to their width. If we superimpose their position and width on the globe, we see that the width of the time zones between the north and south relative to their latitudinal position are not enough to justify a difference of double the number of time zones. In fact, we can see that there are 4 time zones over the USA and only 2 used in Australia, both countries having the same width. In the middle of Australia, they have added an extra half-hour time zone to make us believe in a third time zone, and in this incorrect projection, Australia overlaps the 22-hour time zone. Australians actually only use 2 time zones, which are shown here. If we place the USA and Australia on the time zones on the flat Earth, the time zones used by both countries makes more sense.
If the globe were real, there should be roughly 24 time zones matching the pathway of the sun in relation to the rotation of the Earth as shown in this illustration. There should be 24 time zones in the north and 24 time zones in the south. These time zones should roughly match longitude lines, and the distances between these time zones should be equal in the north and south at the same latitude. I think everyone can pretty much understand that. Unknown to nearly everyone, this illustration here is misleading and doesn't match reality because there are actually 19 time zones in the north and 32 time zones in the south. That certainly doesn't make sense under the globe. So why are there more time zones in the south than in the north? It is because the Earth is flat. Under a flat Earth, the 24-hour time zones, like longitude lines, would continually spread out as the time zones move from north to south, as shown here. To hide this fact, the conspirators added extra time zones and half-hour time zones in the south and took away time zones in the north. For example, that is why you can have 4 time zones in the continental United States and 2 in Australia, even though they are about the same width. Time zones hide our flat Earth reality.
The time zones are divided into 24 hours around the Earth, as you can see here on this image. So we have 24 hours. And then we have this really cool time zone. What a cool little line we have here for this time zone. Of course, now we see these parallel lines here of longitude. More precisely, it should be divided into 24 identical time zones following the position of the sun in relation to the rotation of the Earth. Right, so the Earth's a sphere. It's turning every 24 hours. It's symmetrical in the north and the south. Therefore, you should have 24 time zones in the north and 24 time zones in the south. There's the sun. At the same time, if you observe only the northernmost part, you will notice that Alaska and Canada are stretched to the west, and little by little they overstep. Look right here. If you look at these time zones, as you move over towards the west, this time zone, look at the yellow portion here, it stretches and moves over to the west. It's not even lined up right here on the eastern side, and it's way off in the western side. So you see these time zones. Now, this is based on the alleged longitudes of a globe, though. They should all be the same. The time zone should be the same symmetrically from north to south on a globe. But what they do with these time zone maps, as you see, they stretch the time zone all the way over. Who set the time zones? This stretches farther and farther west, as even this time zone literally crosses over into another longitude going down to the east. So really, they all are stretching over to the left, to the west. Globers say it's refraction. Yeah, this is actually refraction. Okay, that right there shows you something's going on here. Why are the time zones stretched out in the northernmost portion of the map? As we get more and more north, it's more and more stretched out. Oh, didn't we just cover that as you try to make the plane Earth a globe, you're going to have to actually stretch out the land masses in the area in the north to conform it to a globe. To transpose a flat Earth on a globe, you will actually have to stretch it out. What a coincidence that the time zones don't match what they should look like on a globe. Rather, they're stretched out in the northernmost region. Okay. They offset further and further to the point where in Alaska at the Bering Strait, it is 3 o'clock local time, while at the same time in the same place, it is also midnight in Russia on exactly the same longitude. This is a longitude line that's supposed to go from the north to the south of a globe. It should be the same time there. It's a globe that's tilted, slowly wobbling over the course of many years, spinning once every 24 hours. So therefore, the sun is hitting the globe that's spinning, so we should have the same time zones on the same lines of longitude. Right here, you see they stretch the time zones out more and more and more as you go west, and then you have 3 hours right here, and then you have 24 hours right here. Meaning if this is midnight, it would be 3 a.m. here in the same longitude line. Uh-oh. Is some trickery at play here or something? What are they doing? Why would you ever need to do this? 3 hour difference at exactly the same longitude. 3 hours are missing here from 0 hour or midnight in Russia to 3 in the morning in Alaska. To the west of the Bering Strait, it is the same thing. We see that there are 2 hours of time zones missing. So if you look right here, you go from 17 hours to 19 hours. Where's the 18? If you look right here, you go from 19 to 21. So 18 and 20 are missing. Therefore, in the globe, there are only 19 time zones out of 24. You have 3 missing here, and then you have 1 missing here, 1 missing here, 5 total missing time zones in the north. By stretching Canada, Alaska, and Russia over less time zones, here and there, it creates space at the Bering Strait. So as they're stretching these land masses slowly, it creates this discrepancy that just sits there in plain sight in front of everyone. No big deal. As well as the great stretches of sea just under the strait. This creates the extra space needed by the manipulators for the transformation, as we see here. If, on the contrary, we keep the same stretch for both continents, but apply 24 time zones, we find ourselves with 3 time zones just over Alaska alone. Wow. So if we keep the longitude the way it actually is, then we would actually have 3 additional time zones right here. Of course, to go from 24 to 3, 24 hours to 3 hours, or midnight to 3 a.m., you have 3 hours, which means you should have 3 time zones directly correlating to the longitude lines. But they're not there. And when following the latitudes from east to west, we would change time zones too quickly over too short a distance. Uh-oh. This doesn't match. Which would not correspond to the distances of the sphere model and would raise concern. So if people saw the actual time zones based on longitude, people would notice it doesn't match the globe. We also see that the USA and Australia have almost the same width, 4,000 kilometers for Australia and 4,500 kilometers for the USA, which works on a globe. They also have an equivalent latitudinal position, though USA is a little further north than Australia is in the south. So they're almost, they're at corresponding latitudes, northern and southern latitudes, and they're very similar widths. Their positions in latitude are similar enough to be able to compare the time zones for each country according to their width. Their positions in latitude, if we superimpose their position and width on a globe, we see that the width of the time zones between the north and south relative to their latitudinal position are not enough to justify a difference of double the number of time zones. Wait a minute. So they're on correlated latitudes, and they're right at the same width on a supposed symmetrical globe that's rotating every 24 hours. Yet America has double the time zones? Wait a minute. What am I missing here? Correlating latitudes right at the same width, but in fact we can see that there are 4 time zones over USA and only 2 used in Australia, both countries having the same width. Wait a minute. You see right here, you go from 20 over to the next hour, and they just do a half hour time zone in the middle. So you have 2 time zones here in Australia. What do you have over here? You have 1, 2, 3, 4 time zones in the United States. Same width. Now, they don't look like they're the same width because this is laid out with parallel longitude lines. So why is Australia only going to have 2 time zones, but the United States has 4 in the north? There's got to be a logical explanation for that, right? It's right in front of everyone's face. It's literally right there. This is how they hid the flat Earth. In the middle of Australia, they have added an extra half-hour time zone to make us believe in a 3rd time zone. And in this incorrect projection, Australia overlaps the 22-hour time zone. Right here. In this incorrect projection, which we will shortly cover. It overlaps the 22nd, but why? You see, this is the 21, this is the 21st hour. You can look down here at the bottom if you can see it. 20 hours, 21 hours, 22 hours. But they add a half hour in the middle to make it look like there's 3 time zones, when obviously it just goes from 20 hours to 21 hours. And then they have the 21 hour overlapping the 22 hour time zone. Australians actually only use 2 time zones, which are shown here. So why are they adding stuff to the time zone map? Wait a minute. On the time zone chart, Australia appears a lot skinnier than USA, even after stretching it over the 22-hour time zone. In my opinion, it is not real because this time zone is ignored. Of course it is. No one uses it. It's a deception. The difference in width comes from the time zones being parallel in this representation. Exactly. On the flat Earth, they get wider to the south, which correlates with the entire width of Australia, only using 2 time zones instead of 4 time zones for the USA. As we get to the south, the longitude lines diverge. They separate and get wider as you go further south. So the time zones themselves become wider in the south. Not on a globe. If we place USA and Australia onto the time zones of the flat Earth, the time zones used by both countries make sense. Look at that. You have the USA up here further north, so that's where you get the 4 time zones because the longitude lines are closer together. As they go further out from the central portion of the Cartesian coordinate system, right? Of course, the longitude lines diverge as you get further out. So by the time you get all the way to the south where Australia is, you only have 2 time zones take up all of Australia, even though they have very similar widths. Since the time zones don't widen as you go south, it is imperative to stretch the land masses in the north so as to keep the time zones parallel in order to maintain the illusion of a ball with 2 symmetrical hemispheres. Probably all a coincidence. We see that this makes no sense on a sphere with 2 symmetrical hemispheres. Of course it doesn't. They're symmetrical. It goes down to the globe and then converges back down to the South Pole. The lines converge on both the northern side and the southern side of the equator on the globe, and it's symmetrical. While it is much more coherent on a flat Earth, with the north being smaller than the southern parts. On a simplified flat Earth diagram, the modified time zones would work like this. Okay, now you see this is where they add all these little half time zones. So all of a sudden the time zones make sense. Wow. Think about how smooth of a trick this was. We can see that the farther we go from the center, the more time zones were added by the manipulators in order to hide the larger surface dimensions of these southern time zones comparatively to the north, which makes perfect sense on a flat Earth, again, but doesn't make any sense on a globe. So why are we adding little half-hour time zones? Why do we have 32 time zones in the south, and then we're subtracting 5 from the north? Because they took the flat Earth, which is smaller in the north and bigger in the south, and then they made it symmetrical by stretching the north and compressing the south, and then fudging all the data with the time zones. So there you go. The globe is done. It's over, bro. It's over. Let me just recap for you guys. Ballers, I hope you took notes. I said the primary part 15 times. I know you had to hear it. You're probably going through some cognitus. The globe is refuted. That's what just happened. Okay? On a globe, you would have 24-hour time zones. Okay? And they would be symmetrical because the Earth's supposedly a sphere. So they would be symmetrical on both sides of the sphere. Let me come back over to the illustration to make sure that you fully understand it. On a sphere, there should be 24-hour time zones. Like this right here. 24-hour time zones on a sphere. The sphere is supposed to be symmetrical, which means the longitude lines all start at the North Pole, and they diverge out to the equator, and then they converge back together at the south. Just like from the equator here, they converge back up to the north. It's supposed to be symmetrical on both sides. This longitude line extends all the way around the globe. Slightly diverging, equator back to converging. Spherical geometry. Because there are no parallel lines in spherical geometry. Okay. So, therefore, if we're going to we should be able to easily use our lines of longitude to create time zones. Because the Earth is a sphere that's spinning and half of it's lit up by a sun, which means that the longitude line should give us 24-hour time zones. And they should be the same in the north and the same in the south. But in reality, we do not see this. We see that they've added things to the south, like here in Australia, and they've subtracted time zones in the north. And just like we showed right here, you have to do this to transform a flat Earth into a globe. As that flat map right there begins to change into a globe, those land masses are increasing in area. So you have to stretch these northern land masses out some. But of course, in the south, these longitude lines are getting wider. The area is wider in the south on the plane. So if you're going to make this a ball, you have to actually make the north increase in area, and then you have to make the south decrease in area to be a sphere. And it has to be a symmetrical rate in which this happens. You should have 24-hour time zones that are symmetrical. So all you have to do is fudge the time zones, utilize the fact that people don't have any reference to navigate in the south, and that almost no one does, that these entire portions down here are uninhabited. And then you hide the time zones in there. And what you do, of course, just to clarify here, of course, it makes perfect sense that there's 24-hour time zones, and then they get wider on a flat Earth as you go further south. This is just a recap. So here you see what they did. They stretched the time zones out as they move further west in the most northern portions. So you see this is the time zone here. On this longitude line, it should just go all the way up. It's supposed to be a symmetrical globe, right? But instead, it's deviating to the west all the way over here. It's actually moving 2 time zones over. And then this is doing the same thing, moving over, moving over. Then they get to this climax where they had to basically boil it all down to a portion where they had to hide the leftover time zones. So they just subtracted 3 hours, and they just blatantly throw on the map this super crooked date line where you have 24 hours and 3 hours. That means these 2 islands, these 2 coasts right here, right? They're on the same longitude, but they're not going to see the sun at the same time. Of course they do. They do. And they've tried to get some excuse for this. It's very obvious what they've done. So you have the 3-hour difference here. You stretch the land masses out here because you have to make the flat Earth wider in the north and smaller in the south to make it look like it's a globe and deceive everyone. Then you come over here and you take out the 20th hour, you take out the 18th hour. Then you move down to this portion and you have the full 24 hours. Because again, as it's going to be smaller on a flat Earth than on a globe, it's going to reach that middle ground where they both are going to be, they're going to cross. Then you get further down, so you have your full 24 hours. Then you get further down, and they start adding time zones to make it look like there's, say, 3 time zones here. The 20th hour, the 20 and a half hour, the 21st hour. Why is the 21st hour in the 22nd hour time zone in that longitude? And why is it? This is obviously just 1 hour here, 1 hour there. It's spilled over. The reason it looks like this, again, is because it has parallel longitude time zones here. Okay, on a globe, there would be actual objective time zones. You have a globe that spins and causes day. You would have 24 1-hour time zones. Now, everyone can agree, globe, flat, spinning, not spinning. The sun comes back around every 24 hours. That's what we call a day. We have 24 hours. So we can break that up into 1-hour time zones so that everyone could, in theory, have a specific time zone for when it's noon for them. Okay, so you could have 24-hour time zones on the globe. This would be very easy. It would be coming from the North Pole down, diverging out to the center of the equator, and then coming back down, converging towards the South Pole. They would be symmetrical in the north and the south. You could have perfect, evenly distributed time zones around the globe, 24 1-hour time zones based on longitude, diverging to the equator, converging back down to the South Pole.
the claim is, of course, well, time zones are just arbitrary. Different governments just choose to do it for convenience. Well, my state goes over into this other longitudinal zone, but it's inconvenient for us to have different times. Okay, really, it would be convenient that everyone has a very accurate time zone that's predictable and evenly distributed and divided, and if you just cross that time zone, whether you're still in the same state or not, doesn't matter. You're in a different time zone because of the sun. But whatever, the whole point is that if you claim that it's just merely the fact that it's political preference based on arbitrary decisions and determinations of governments, what are the odds that you took 5 out in the north, which would conveniently actually allow you to make the land masses look better by muddying the waters of the time zones, right at the Bering Strait of Alaska in Russia? That Bering Strait, you have 24 hours jumping to 3 hours, meaning it's midnight and 3 a.m. right beside each other, where these land masses come right beside each other in the same longitudinal zone. So you have 19, where if you were to transform a flat earth to a globe, you would have to stretch the land out. So they stretched time zones out over more longitude zones in the north and subtracted 5 total time zones, 3 at the Bering Strait and then 2 other ones to the west of it. Then when you come down a little bit further, that's where the globe and the flat would be the same, and you have 24-hour time zones in that portion. And then when you go even further, you have 32. So just coincidentally, based on arbitrary and political decisions of the government, they just happen to set up time zones completely not coordinating with each other, completely irrelevant and random. Just coincidentally, the South has way more time zones, where you would have much larger actual time zones on a flat Earth. They just coincidentally have way more, and they really like their half-hour time zones, and they throw them all over in the southern oceans where no one can verify. And then in the middle, where it'd be the same as 24-hour time zones around, and then in the north, where it would be smaller on a flat Earth, they've stretched out and taken out 5 time zones. Total coincidence that it happened in just the same way you would need to use the time zones to make it look like it's a globe if it were flat. Just a coincidence that all the governments randomly made the decisions. That's the actual argument, and it seems that they don't understand it.
So the question is, what is going on? And the answer is, well, they said it's an important trade route. What if it is? What if this is a map that was found in a Buddhist temple? It was published at 10 centuries old, published in 1907 in a Hawaiian newspaper, showing all of these other continents. Now imagine I take this piece of paper and I wrap it around a basketball, like I showed you the map wrapping around before. So all of these continents get pushed into Antarctica. It's not really pushed there because they're really out there. What if it is an important trade route? What if there's a trade route from Kiribati and these boats that we're seeing are going out here to other lands, other civilizations? Maybe they're trading weapons, computer chips, tuna fish, children. I don't know. Okay. How would you know? Because you never even heard of Kiribati before I mentioned this. And the other thing is, I made a bunch of videos on this. They started going viral. And now, before you can type in Kiribati, whoop, Google Earth brings you right to it. Now, you type in Kiribati, it brings you here. All of it, just no announcement. And look where this is compared to where Kiribati is. It's across the world. And Kiribati's over here. And when you zoom in on Kiribati, what do we see? It's now Kirimati.
Weird. Kiriti-mati.
Yeah, the people that live near there, they criticize me for my pronouncing. I'm just pronouncing it the way it's spelled. So it's now Kirimati. Again, same thing happened with the Georgia Guidestones. They proved that the Earth isn't wobbling. They blew up the Georgia Guidestones here in America and, took them away, no investigation.
I totally get that you're busy, you've got personal things going on in your life, lots of distractions on the news given from the mainstream media. There's a lot going on. But I don't know if you realize this, but it's been over a year since the Georgia Guidestones were blown up, and nobody's talking about it anymore. And if you don't know what the Georgia Guidestones are, it's a bunch of tall stone tablets where it has written on them the same exact text in a bunch of different languages. One of the wonderful things that whoever put up this monument thought to put on here was maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. If you do the math, that's like a 90% reduction in the current claimed population of the Earth. But other than just saying some weird stuff like we should kill everybody, it also had some astronomical features. One, the channel through the stone indicates the celestial pole, Polaris. Talk about that in a second. The horizontal slot indicates the annual travel of the sun. And 3, sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year. Now that channel that they were talking about drilled through the rock is this hole right here. And you could have walked up to this hole at any time of the year, day or night, and this hole would be aiming at Polaris, the celestial pole. Riddle me this. How are we supposed to believe this worked if this is the movements of our solar system? The entire solar system is moving 500,000 miles an hour, 4.9 billion miles in a single year through space. We're tilted on an axis, precessing, wobbling, while we're supposed to believe we're orbiting the sun at 66,616 miles an hour on average. And all of the stars above our head are supposed to be expanding away from us from the Big Bang, doing their own individual movements. And we're supposed to believe that we're on a round rock, and we could set a rock on this rock that aims at Polaris 24/7 when we're supposed to be doing this? Someone make sense of this. I know it's a lot to realize that current cosmology is off, but it's actually admitted by people like Michio Kaku, who admit that cosmology, the current cosmology, is off by 10 to 120th power. And this channel and this guidestone right here definitively disproves the ideology which suggests that we're on a spinning magical water ball doing all of these astronomical motions around the sun and through a space vacuum that doesn't exist. This truth, it's uncomfortable. It's gonna really twist and turn your brain. But once you realize that everything is cyclical and the sky is a clock, and the Georgia Guidestones, that horizontal hole that was cut into those stones, it measured the equinoxes and solstices of the year. Why do you think that the sun makes this analemma every year? It makes this infinity shape. And we have to believe that a Mars-sized planet came and hit the Earth and caused all of this cyclicalness? Yeah, right, buddy. The Earth's flat, and we live on the inertial plane or block domain wall of the magnetic perturbation that starts at the center of the Earth. There's no South Pole. And when you look at the movements of the wandering stars or so-called planets, and then you look at a magnetic field, something might be going on. I suggest that maybe the sky moves off magnetism and not gravity.
This hole right here in the center stone, when you look through it, you can see Polaris and all the other stars circle around it. So we're traveling 4.4 billion miles a year. We're zigzagging back and forth on each side of the sun, 183 million miles, whatever it is. And somehow Polaris stays in there. They were built in 1981. So they tell us in the heliocentric model that the Earth is precessing. You know, the axis is tilting every 26,000 years. And so every 76 years, it moves 1 degree. And it's provable that if you moved this hole 1 degree, the Polaris wouldn't be there anymore. Okay, if you move Polaris 1 degree, it wouldn't be there anymore. Well, this was up for over 40 years. And I'm sorry, if you move it a half a degree, it'll be way out of that circle. Just a half a degree. Well, it was up for 40 years. It was still there. Okay. So it got blown up by a terrorist somehow, Yeah, crazy. Right. And then there's a shaft in the Great Pyramid of Giza that points at Polaris. And they say, oh, well, when they built it, it pointed at another North Star called Thuban. And, we've processed, and now we just by chance are looking at this other North Star. Ridiculous. We, for thousands of years, the shaft in the pyramid looked at nothing, and now it's looking at Polaris. Okay, just by chance. We live at the time where it's pointing at our North Star. Give me a break. Give me a break. So tons of stuff to learn every day. You'll never, ever, 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 ever be bored again once you start looking into flat Earth. There's no time to be bored. If you wake up insomnia one night at 3 a.m., you'll be like, yes, I get 5 hours before I have to talk to anybody, right? And again, this world is amazing. It's absolutely incredibly an amazing place, and they're hiding that from the average. Most people are literally almost considered NPCs at this point. Most people.
Yeah, it's all about just getting through those few that are open-minded to the extremely different than they've been told. Mm-hmm.
It's growing. The Globers are out there going, flat Earth is dying. There's a mass exodus of flat Earth. In the last 10 years, like 7 people have left flat Earth under highly suspicious conditions. Right?
Yeah, that 24-hour sun in Antarctica thing, I know you made videos about that.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. There's if you go, and this is a 3-hour podcast if we start talking about it. If you go to the FAQ page, which is the question mark, and you click Antarctica right here, the 24-hour sun, up comes this, and the top 2 videos are all about that. I'd say watch Scam Arctica 3. It'll completely destroy the whole thing. And it's not just coping.
3.5 hours long.
It's 3.5 hours long. You're going to watch it twice, guaranteed. It's that good.
Yeah.
It's that good. But the bottom line is, to believe that a circling sun proves the globe, you have to believe that helium and hydrogen have gravity and it can exist in a space vacuum without a container and hold on to Pluto and ignore our moon. It's so stupid. People from Narnia laugh at it, right? If you understand that the sky is the heavenly realm, it's non-physical, and we may not be able to explain it. Okay. We can explain a lot of things. Like when you're looking top-down view of the Earth, it shows that inside of the ring of Antarctica, it's accurate. Wherever the sun is, like right now, if somebody was right here, they'd say it's noon and the sun is directly above them. And so where you are, you're here in Poland, the moon should be rising. Well, it's just nighttime for you. And so the moon's going to rise for you pretty soon. It's coming around.
I'm going to be spending some time in just all of your videos because I haven't gone through your whole YouTube channel. And
you can't. It's impossible. It's too big now.
Yeah,
There's too many videos. If you have the app, you can search by topic. If you want to, the frequently asked questions page is an incredible resource. And then if you're looking for a specific interview, you can search for it. My Roseanne Barr interview is a fun one, and all sorts of stuff.
And honestly, what I'm thinking right now, I haven't done this in a while, but you have so much content out there. I think I'm going to actually go through and just dive deep through your videos and just pull clips from even other videos you've done to expand on things we did in this one. Just make it a massive collection of all the different things. Because there's no way for us to cover it all today, obviously, as we know.
DITRH video, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, DITRH, which you can find on flatearthdave.com to subscribe. Most of there's hundreds and hundreds of videos there, and they're all under 5 minutes. They're all short videos because we live in a world of short attention spans, busy schedules. All you have to do is watch these little ones, and you're like, oh, that's pretty good. Let's watch the next one. And all sorts of stuff. And I got lots of shorts going out there, all sorts of stuff. So peace, Ben. Beautiful. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Dave, my man, thank you so much for coming. It was great to chat with you, and I look forward to keeping in touch. Maybe we'll do another one in the future, but I have my plate full of content to be digging into for the foreseeable future. I really appreciate all that you do, and continue doing your thing, man.
Awesome. Thanks so much. See you.
Whenever they told you the sky is the limit, what they really meant was there's a dome and you're in it. You've been lied to by the men behind curtains. If only you'd open your eyes, you'd be certain. Man has never stepped foot on the moon. It's not solid, and it's in the dome too. The sun, they say, is 93 million miles away, but if that were the case, we would not see angled rays. Water has never been seen with the curve, so to think that we live on a ball is absurd. I know it sounds crazy to say the Earth's flat, but the curve can't be found, and that's a plain fact. It's simple and easy to see if you try, that the model they taught you in school is a lie. The reason they told you we live on a ball was to hide our Creator and His love for us all. I know it's easier just to stay asleep, but to know that I'm special is worth it to me. See, they want us to think we don't matter at all, that we're just some dumb monkeys stuck to a ball, that we happened by chance and evolved from nothing, but the people that told you that are all bluffing. I could tell you the facts till I'm blue in the face, but the globe isn't real and neither is space. Do your own research and I promise that you'll find everything that you thought you knew was a lie.
All right, tell me your name.
Ruth Heath.
Ruth, and how old are you today?
102.
102. So you were born in
1918.
1918. And we were just talking, and I asked you what shape the Earth is, and what did you say? What were you taught in school in elementary school?
I was taught in school that the Earth was flat.
And then what do you remember when they changed it to a globe?
Well, when they changed it, I remember when they changed it, but I can't remember the date or anything like that.
And did you believe them?
Yes, I did.
You did. Now,
I was young.
Right, and we all were told by people that we trust.
That's right.
Where did you go to school? Elementary school.
I went to Spur Glen School in Hamden, Connecticut. I lived on a farm and grew up with all kinds of animals. No electricity. A big white farmhouse.
Amazing.
And we had to walk to school. We didn't have a bus to take us to school. We had to walk to school and walk home through all bad weather. It was, living on the farm was a life of, I can't explain it.
So getting back to the flat Earth, you said that you're religious, that
Yes.
you follow the Bible.
Yes, I do.
And are you aware that the Bible is all about the flat Earth? That God put the Earth on the footstool and separated the waters from the waters, and created the firmament. If you read Genesis, I'm not the Bible guy. I have friends that are so good at it, but there's over 200 verses in the Bible that refer to a flat Earth.
That's right.
And I think there's only one verse that mentions Earth as a circle, but just like this table right here, that table is a circle,
right,
but it's flat.
That's right.
Right. A circle is different than a sphere. A sphere is the same in every direction.
That's right.
The circle of the Earth. So how does it make you feel to realize that you were right as a kid?
It makes me feel better.
It does make you feel better, right?
Oh, it makes me feel alive.
Oh my God, that is so true. My whole life, I believed, what I was taught.
That's
and then
right.
when I discovered the flat Earth,
I feel better about it.
Because we are the center of creation.
That's right.
We are important.
That's right.
And we are here.
We are God's children.
Excellent.
Yes.
I will,
I believe in God. I trust God. And when all the problems that are happening in this world today.
I'll give you some good news. A lot of the problems that they report on the news aren't even real.
That's right. That's right.
They're just keeping us in fear.
Keeping up. That's right. That's right. That's right. I understand that. They just say what they want people to know. They don't care about the Bible. They don't care about life. They only care about I, me, myself, and I. It's a different world.
So the globe deception that a lot of people say, and I believe, is literally by Satan to hide God and make people selfish and self-centered and not care and think that there's no consequences for their actions.
Right. I pray every night. before I go to bed. And one night things weren't happening right. And I sat up in bed and I said, God, where are you? I need you right now. And I'm beginning to wonder, where is God?
God's right above us in the clouds. The heavens are right here. That's all that there is. And there's not infinite space. Did you know, wait, let me ask you a question, just switching topics a little bit, that we never went to the moon, that was all fake?
Is that right?
That's correct.
I saw that all happening.
Yeah, so did I, and we all believed it, but that was just to reinforce that people to believe they can live on a ball and they could walk on a ball. Nobody's ever been to space because space doesn't exist. There is no space. There's just this world.
Oh, it's such a lie.
It's such a lie, but knowing the lie is like going to a magic show.
I woke up.
Yes, that's what we call it. We call it red. This is your moment of waking up.
Oh.
It's when you go to see a magician and you know how the tricks are done, and the magic no longer works on you, and you're free from the illusion. So knowing this is going to free your heart.
Cry.
Yeah, it's okay.
It makes me cry.
Happiness.
Yes.
Tears of joy.
Yes. Yes. I know that we were true, and they're hiding us.
Yes, it's good though.
It's good.
It's very good.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
I'm awake.
Yes.
I'm awake.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to end this video now, and I will try to give you some more information. Can you read? Are you able to read?
No.
You're not able to read.
No.
You're able to listen to things?
Well, I have to use up here.
Okay.
Because I'm legally blind.
I got it. All right. So you can't see how good looking I am?
No.
You just have to trust my opinion. This is the perfect woman for me. She can't see me. All right. Thank you so much.
That's my pleasure.
All right.
It's my pleasure to know that it's true.
It is absolutely true.
Oh, it's amazing.
Here's the thing: if you tell other people that aren't awake, they'll think you're crazy.
That's right. That's right.
That's their problem.
No, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So good, right? I'm glad we met.
I'm so happy.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. It's right.
All right, this is what I did. I was visiting my mother, and I asked who the oldest, most lucid person was, and they introduced me to Ruth. Ruth, right?
Yes.
And I encourage anyone else that has access to an old age home to do the same, because there's not many people like Ruth left that remember these things. We also talked about the World's Fair that she attended, and she said that the lights were the most amazing part.
Most amazing thing.
Yeah.
I never got over that. All my life, it's right there. The lights were so bright. And living in the darkness for so many years as a child, all of a sudden the world opened up.
Amazing. All right, Ruth, thank you.
Thank you. I'm amazed. I'm so happy to know it's true.
It's true, and God created this world.
Yes,
and He's right here in the clouds above, close, not in an infinite universe. So good, right?
And I can't get over it. Made me cry.
Made me cry too.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Ruth, give me a hug. Here we go.
I need it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
I have given Truman the chance to lead a normal life. The world, the place you live in, is the sick place. Sea Haven is the way the world should be.
He's not a performer, he's a prisoner. Look at him, look at what you've done to him.
He could leave at any time. If his was more than just a vague ambition, if he was absolutely determined to discover the truth, there's no way we could prevent him. There's no way we could prevent him. There's no way we could prevent him. There's no way we could prevent him.